Okay, welcome everybody to this special session with our current Supervisory Council, who've kindly agreed to be with us today to tell us a bit about their role and their experiences with the Council so far. We're holding this special session as part of our ongoing decentralization efforts, and it will be really helpful going forward for us as we define the roles and responsibilities for the Council in the future. Thank you so much, David and Penny, for being with us today. We're also joined by Jan, Ian, Fly, Felix, Julius, Grace, and Alex. Yes, David and Penny, thanks for being here today. Thank you so much for offering your time.
Oh, of course, thank you. And I also want to recognize our AI helpers, Autopilot and Read.ai, who are not going to speak, but are assisting. And I'm sure in future meetings, their features and abilities or desires will further increase. So, Esther, thank you for having us, and I'm looking forward to the conversation today.
Yes, thanks, Esther.
To kick off, would you mind telling us a little bit about how you became members of the Supervisory Council?
Well, that is very easy. We were elected. And honored to receive the trust of the community. What feels like a long time ago, but maybe the question is how you became to be a candidate. And as far as I am concerned, that really came about looking at the project and how closely aligned I was with its mission in terms of both my background in artificial intelligence originally in the previous millennium, or starting in the previous millennium, and my work in analyzing and teaching about decentralization as a natural consequence of exponential technologies. So in that sense, for me, SingularityNET is a very important project, including our ultimate urgent need to understand how we'll share the planet and the universe with AGIs. So when the roles in the Supervisory Council opened up, I was very enthusiastic in proposing my candidacy, and honored to have been elected.
Thank you. Penny, would you like to share your experiences?
Yeah. How I came across the Supervisory Council and SingularityNET, I actually followed the robots, met the team at the time. It was before the ICOs. I had reviewed 50 projects. My background, just a little bit for this forum, is between cybersecurity, payments, which led me to blockchain back in 2009, as well as my passion with AI and robotics. So I actually followed the robots. I met Sophia first at one of the major events in Singapore. And then I got to know the team, I got to know Ben, and I just thought, wow, this is amazing what the vision and the mission was, and it completely aligned to the values that I have. And if I could contribute in this community, on this vision and this mission, what an amazing journey. So that's kind of how I led into this world, and I haven't looked back since.
Thank you. So it seems like a kind of mixture of ethos and interest, and the combination of these things seem to bring you to SingularityNET and to the Supervisory Council. Just to let everybody know, I'm nominally leading the session with questions, but please feel free to jump in with any questions as we go along. I'm just going to go for it. If there is a silence or a vacuum, then I'll carry on. But please feel free to interject. It's not a singular AMA session here. I have a series of questions that I have put together from the various contributions that have come to us from the community, and some of them are from me and some of them from them, and we don't really differentiate. Could you tell us a bit about what the original brief was for the council? What were the parameters, goals, responsibilities for the council at the beginning?
So, as you may know, SingularityNET was established originally as a Netherlands-based stichting, and I'm sorry if I'm not holding my ches sufficiently. And the requirements formally of the foundation included different boards and different structures. The world of crypto is an exciting and very delicate world, and it was clear that SingularityNET wanted to distinguish itself not only through its mission and technology, but also through the soundness of the ethical and governance foundations that inspired it and that were implemented in its governance structures. So the most important mission of the Supervisory Council at the time was, on one hand, to be an oversight, able to look into the foundation's workings and make sure that everything was shipshape, or that if we found activities or processes that we believed needed improvement, suggesting those improvements. On the other hand, to function as an ombudsman with respect to the broader community that always had the ability to bring issues that potentially were not resolved in a direct communication with the foundation to the Supervisory Council that would analyze and mediate. An important remark is that in the past, and of course during all of this conversation, it is clear that we are either referring to the SC, the Supervisory Council, as it worked up until now, or we are looking at how it should work in the future. So in the past, the Supervisory Council never had a power to execute or impose the execution of its recommendations, right? It could sound an alarm or complain very loudly, but it didn't have a way of imposing if it were discontent of its findings. And I don't know, Penny, of course, the two of us here, I am very loud, so I tend to speak too much. So I will try and explicitly invite Penny to also contribute.
Yeah, it's a challenge, because to find the balance between traditional ways of governing boards versus the concept of DAO, let's go fully decentralized. So it's very hard to put in place what a complete decentralized autonomous organization may look like, because it doesn't exist today. We would like to aspire to that, but there are challenges in that as well, because it could mean complete chaos or complete indecision as well if we don't set it up right. And you can't rely on 3, 4, 5, or one or a bunch of people to decide what that looks like. It needs constant feedback from the community. So that's kind of some of the challenges that we found is, as we're trying to shape the balance between traditional governance and also, what a DAO should look like in terms of self-governance. We need more contribution from the community to actually get that balance right, hence the incorporation, or hopefully incorporation soon to be, of the seed DAO, the SingCom DAO.
And when you say, just briefly, when you say more contribution from the community, do you mean more communication between the council and the community?
Absolutely. The first phase is to work out, right, we are living in a particular space on this earth. We need to abide by certain rules and jurisdictions. So first, number one priority, make sure we've got that right and we don't upset the balance. And then slowly work towards what we feel as a community a DAO should look like. In terms of the communication, absolutely. The ambassador program, I think, is a fantastic starting point. We didn't have that in the beginning. Likewise, we didn't have a deep funding program. So these two programs are really integral pieces of work as part of that outreach, led by Jan very well and also led by Peter, respectively, between the two different programs. And it's a critical, I guess, stepping stone to get there. So through those programs, the question is how then could we incentivize the community to participate more? And that could be partially incentivized, partially, how do we put features, functions, ideas out there and vote, vote either for or against them, which I believe Peter and Jan are actually facilitating very, very well.
Right. That's absolutely true. Can I move for a moment to Fly, who has a question, who had its hand up?
Thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, as individuals on the Supervisory Council, what were the things you were loud or vocal about so far? What were the main things for you as individuals on the council?
Yeah, so this is also linked to a couple of questions in the chat, and if Grace and Tivo, I am misinterpreting the fact that I could join answering all three of you together, please don't hesitate to reformulate or follow up. So one important aspect is that at least the way I interpreted our role, it wasn't to blame and shame, right? So the first step when you feel that something may not be perfect is not to go wide about it and say, hey, whatever, right? So the first, since we have this position where we have a certain degree of observation capacity of what is going on, first we take it to the foundation itself, and then they either correct or not correct the activity. I will finish with an example and then go to the community side, because those are two complementary things, right? So I can say that at the beginning, as it is very, very natural with any startup, things were a little more messier. And the easiest example of the messiness can be whether the internal reporting of activities and the yearly reporting of finances, etc., is timely and complete. And obviously, as the organization grows up in terms of talent and skills that are brought aboard, and processes and procedures that are refined and better established, all of these things start to clarify. Another example is treasury management, of how a responsibility universal to crypto projects is to execute functions that in the traditional world of corporations only multinationals have, of how to correctly rebalance its holdings in the case of a crypto startup between, stable coins or its own token or even fiat, and some projects in the past have been ridiculized because they even were buying gold. rather than being seen as a pretty good example of managing their treasury risk and exchange risk. So these are a couple of examples where we have seen things improving very importantly. And in terms of the community itself, I personally have not been asked to mediate or resolve issues that have been brought to my attention. There can be many reasons for this, but I would say a very important reason is that the communication from the members of the foundation towards the larger community has been always very intense and very open, even to the point of Ben personally answering things on Telegram or in other places at a character per minute or word per minute pace that may indicate his cyborg nature. So it never came to a point, as far as I am concerned, that someone felt, oh, this is not being resolved. I really need to appeal to the supervisory council.
Yeah, this is, I guess, one of what David's point there. One of the very few projects where the community management is done well, in my personal opinion. I've seen other projects where it's complete chaos. Founders are getting attacked. People are attacking each other. It's absolute anarchy almost. But this is quite good because I believe that, I hope that everyone as part of this community have similar value systems. So we respect each other. We respect each other as team members. We respect each other within the community, but also how we aspire to what the vision looks like and Ben's vision on benevolent AI. So that in its own right, I feel that our community is much nicer in terms of how we treat each other, as well as resolving our problems within our group as well, and not behave like some other projects that are quite appalling. Yeah.
Thank you. I noticed a couple of hands up in the meantime. Fly, was that a mistake? Was it from before?
Yes, it was from before. Thanks.
Okay, great. I was reflecting on the on those responsibilities, and I was wondering whether there were any ways to measure the success of that action of the Supervisory Council. Are there any benchmarks to gauge the sorts of things that you're talking about? Because some of the responsibilities are quite they're extremely useful, because it's great to have a pair of eyes or sets of eyes who are looking at the activity of the foundation from a bird's eye view, but the parameters are relatively freeform. So are there measurables for that?
I think that is, oh, please, Penny, go ahead.
I was going to say, in the first instance, if the number of escalations for us to resolve were quite high, then there's something quite wrong. So that's the first litmus test, I guess, the canary in the mine. So I feel that that's a good, just indicative measure of success, where it seems like any concerns the community has been addressed by the team within the different forums. And there hasn't been, like David said, a major escalation where a community member is such in an aggrieved state that there's problems aren't being resolved. So I think that was a huge plus as number one. David, did you want to add to that?
Yeah. It is the granularity of these measures can be different based on different ways of looking at it, right? The coarsest granularity is to say the project didn't blow up. The project is alive and actually it is thriving, given everything it is spawning new ideas, and it is funding ideas, and has become a true ecosystem, which is by itself a partial fulfillment of its own mission of applying AI in a decentralized and differentiated manner. At a finer granularity, as Penny said, is how many incidents there are, and how are they handled. So here I can also give an example where we've been alerted some time ago of an incident that involved a privacy violation. There was unfortunately, quite common mistake that is hard to avoid, of email addresses being exposed rather than handled as they should be. And when this happened, we have been alerted immediately, proactively, by the SingularityNET management, I believe by Janet herself. And then after the fact, immediately the foundation proceeded to communicate the fact that this incident happened to everyone involved, the people whose private information was exposed. And by the way, even though it has been handled in a very professional and serious way, the private information concerned is an email address, right? So relatively minor in terms of what private information can be exposed. And then there has been a period of monitoring, because the SingularityNET, of course, is a global project, but specifically here, the issue was around the European Union's GDPR. So to see if someone felt hurt by the incident, and then after a period, it was observed that complaints were not filed further. And since then, similar things didn't happen. So in a practical manner, I think we can say that whatever procedures were in the meantime put in place, they were effective.
And we do have a DPO on that, just to confirm, according to GDPR. So we do have a data protection officer within the organization.
Yeah.
Sorry, my camera has stopped working, but voice is working fine. Does anybody have a follow-up question to that?
Yeah, I have a question. I guess on that about GDPR and the resources of the Supervisory Council, what resources are available for the development of the Seed Syncom DAO, especially pertaining to legal development and setup? Do you have any input on that?
Yes, so this is a future-oriented question. The original white paper of the foundation communicated and then proceeded to allocate a given percentage, which, if I am not mistaken, a 1.5% to everything that the council, together with the foundation, would decide could fall into or under the purvey of these activities. And you know, for example, the ambassador program is funded through that as well. Now, going forward, the responsibilities of Syncom DAO will be absolutely much broader And as a consequence, the things that you are highlighting are going to be much more important. And I would not exclude that when there will be a budget for the activities of SingComDAO, the DAO, whatever governance structure it will have, will need to talk to the foundation to say, with the budget of tokens that we currently have, not all our goals or even obligations can be potentially met. So as of today, I don't think we have enough information to say if what is available is enough. By the way, it is a great problem to have, because 6 months ago or 9 months ago, this wouldn't be even a conversation, right? The way the token price was then, all the amounts after being translated from a percentage to a dollar amount or euro amount or whatever other fiat translation you wanted to do would be absolutely symbolic. As of right now, they are not symbolic anymore. And so SingComDAO may want to ask itself, okay, how does it want to manage its own treasury, right? And the SingularityNET CFO in the past has been very good in doing things so that the treasury would be preserved while being able to take advantage of the upside in the token. So it could very well be that that SingComDAO will assume a similar function, maybe through the same person.
But I guess, David, there, just to add to that, with the seed SCDAO, I envisage that members of the community who have experience in this area would be able to feed into that process as well before that gets set up, in its entirety. I also envisage, apart from governance, things like smart contract oversight perhaps could be a role for the new entity, as well as some level of community engagement, and obviously the how do we promote more transparency and accountability within that space.
That leads quite nicely into one of the questions that several of us had, which is what do you see the role of the Supervisory Council going forward? Penny, you've just partially answered that, but I just wondered if you had a kind of general perspective on what its role should be and how it should relate to different parts of the ecosystem, including the different branches that have, let's say, sprouted since you joined the Supervisory Council, like the ambassadors and deep funding programs.
Yeah, I'm a broken record.
That's right.
In trying to link it back to its original vision, which is what attracted me to regardless of race, religion, color. So how do we bring it back to the original concept and not lose sight of why we started this project or why we were attracted to this project to begin with? Because a lot of projects will divert, obviously for various reasons. You move jurisdictions, more people get involved. There's more, projects spinning off the back of it. How do you retain, I guess, the original reason why the project existed and attracted so many people to begin with? So just again, how do we achieve that? How do we achieve what is truly decentralized without killing ourselves? And how do we truly innovate governance? Because this is my personal opinion, and you can stop me whenever you do, David, and throw in your thoughts, but worked for the time but today nothing's really working. And we kind of found that out during the pandemic with all the different governments and all the different systems, may have worked, may have not worked, but nothing seems to work for contemporaries. So how do we push this agenda through our project to iterate, to go through an R&D process of what good governance looks like, promote, and how do we push through the agenda of an A.
Why don't I?
AGI,
Sorry, Penny, you are cutting. You're cutting
take
out.
over our jobs. Go for it.
Yeah, sorry. So the future is exciting. Having the opportunity and the privilege of participating together with you in the design of this DAO project is really beautiful. And there are a lot of things that can be tried. I like to be pragmatic about it. So I like to see how we can promote further transparency, how we can maximize participation. We are all very familiar with the issue of voter fatigue, which is especially acute in DAOs that invite people to vote rather than every 4 years, maybe every 4 days. But being smart about it and using the right tools to keep experimenting with new tools as they become available, I think we can not only implement things that are valuable to the SingularityNET ecosystem and that makes Income DAO a viable and very active community, but we can potentially create examples that other organizations, other DAOs may want to adopt. So for me, that is very exciting. And within that, what the Supervisory Council should be doing or should not be doing, I think will be additionally and further clarified. And we will definitely bring our experience in this past period to maybe inform the decisions around the design of the role of the Supervisory Council.
Do you have any thoughts on specific areas that the Supervisory Council could expand into in the new design, or is it too early to tell yet?
Well, on one hand, it is too early. On the other hand, maybe rather than expanding, I would like to narrow it or focus it, right? Because in the past, there has been a bit of ambivalence and concern that the council could abuse, for example, its role by using an excessive amount of the allocations available and misusing them. Right now, it turns out that didn't happen, but it could have happened, right? Also, how the council can maintain its independence and neutrality, while at the same time being passionate and strongly aligned with the mission of the organization, right? So it is not trivial, which is good, because it means that as we evolve better and better solutions, they will be valuable.
Thank you. Penny, do you have any thoughts on this?
Sorry, what was the question? I just dropped out and dropped back in again. I'm on the opposite end of the earth. But Almost stable. I might turn the video off. Yeah.
We were reflecting on what areas the Supervisory Council might narrow into or grow into going forward with the DAO and as the new decentralization progresses.
Yeah, I believe there's a forum where people can suggest features and functions and maybe what the role of Supervisory Council can actually evolve into. I would envisage the council getting more involved into how we get more utility out of the tokens. How do we promote our dev community as well? We need a stronger dev community to help build products on the platform that can be utilized out there. I look at ChatGPT, I'm like, oh, fantastic. It was just one simple interface that gave everyone the access to play with it. So I guess, probably needs a different level of background. Someone maybe with a little bit of political science background as well could probably come in and step in and contribute. Focus a little bit around ethics, privacy, data management. I think there's like a whole bucket list. And I'm happy to list a bucket list and everyone can just vote on it as well.
Thank you. I'd like to go into the chat for a second. Grace is asking when David, you were saying independence and neutrality. Could you explain what you mean by that? What are you independent of, neutral about what?
Yeah, and Grace has another question, and I will take that as well. So the various stakeholders have various interests, right? And the Supervisory Council needs to make sure that it can address those concerns and those points that each of the stakeholders highlight in a manner that is appropriate and ethical. And it is natural that there can be conflicts. The easiest conflict is a community member that has, I don't know, they lost the password to their wallet and they believe that the foundation should be able to recover their funds. Now, this is easy to resolve. It just needs explanation that that is something impossible. But it illustrates a conflict, right? From the point of view of the community member, it is the responsibility of the foundation to help. Since the council is at the same time an expression of the foundation, it is important to make sure that the council at the same time is independent from the foundation, right? So that the council has to make or could have to make hard choices that the foundation disagrees with. And it doesn't matter. It is still its mandate, and it is would be betraying that mandate if it were not doing its job, even when it is going against the foundation itself. So that is what I mean, independence. And then Grace asks about our being active on Discord or Sway, and how often we should be active in the asynchronous forums. So, Grace, I have no problem telling you that I personally should have been more active. Obviously, this is due to a limited time, but at the same time, I am very easy to find and to reach. So rather than me finding out ways to chime in, it was definitely possible for anyone to seek my input, advice, or be involved in and deliberate about anything when needed. And in terms of what it should happen, well, maybe in the future, the way that this supervisory council roles will be defined will include some requirement or some responsibility where this is more prescriptive, right? It will be not only expected, but it will be required for the members of the council to be more active on these communication channels. And then personally, I may or may not be able to satisfy those criteria depending on how busy I am.
Yeah, David, I had a thought about that as well. In the beginning, I did reach out. I was in the sci-fi forum and I was in the philosophy forum. I just thought I'd start with little small groups, which was fantastic. Then I went to the bigger group and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to sink. I've got a day job as well. As much as I'd love to open that dialogue, I don't know how Ben does it. It's impossible, like, unless you're doing it completely full time. Having said that, I thought about how best to do it. Maybe once a week, here's an hour time slot at a reasonable time frame, and just happen. AMAs like this, I think, is fantastic. Great idea. And it could be like once a week, a time slot just for community members to reach out, just to get to know each other. But also, yeah, I've stayed away from a lot of the groups because it's hard to respond, participate, and we're reliant, I guess, for Jan and Peter to feed back what the community is saying. Are there any concerns? So we ask a million questions, and the meetings with Jan and Peter have been really, really helpful to actually, have that insight, as well as silently dropping into the forums and looking at to see what the conversations are around that. Yeah.
So you're really talking about perhaps a more targeted or more structured interaction with the community going forward.
Yeah. Look, I've had community members reach out. Some of them I hauled in, come have a look at this project in the beginning, and they invested as well. So I still keep in contact with those people. They check in, and I ask from time to time, what do you think? Is there anything that, feel free to voice your opinion. There's the forums, reach out to the guys. I've, introduced people into the deep funding program as well, to try and help, get more developers involved if possible. So for me, that's what I've tried to do to bring more people into the projects. Yeah.
Great, thank you. There's a cluster of questions around community, but first I want to go to Felix because he has his hand up.
This Penny, what you mentioned, I think this was really interesting by, let's say, the time restrictions, for example. Question from, let's say, from your own perspective, David and Penny, looking on the next supervisory council, would you rather like to envision this as a full-time position where okay, the people that have actually time to engage in all the workload which is coming from them? Because Penny, I think from your perspective, I understood that you said you still have your day job. You have to prioritize your engagements and your time investments as well. And this might be maybe even restricting the council itself.
Possibly. It depends again, the role of the council. Initially, it was an escalation point, which meant it wasn't necessary to have someone full-time because the team are doing what, their jobs. They're looking after their different respective areas. There's a management team, so that structure looks like it's working well. The board provides oversight. So the role of the council is more about that, oversight for the oversight, I guess, in a strange way. So the Dutch have worked that out very well in terms of the foundation of stitching. I still can't pronounce it very well. And I guess, that, 2-3 days a month seemed reasonable, for that piece of work. But then again, as you grow the community, as you grow, the vision, possibly it may require more members. Again, put it out put it out to the community to actually feedback and make suggestions, and we just vote on it.
Yeah,
That's
so
Yeah.
the two parts to that question, Felix. Depending on what the tasks are going to be, it may be useful, as Penny said, to have more members in the council. But then the question becomes: are these additional members elected, or it is the elected number of members that hire the skills that are needed to execute the things? And also, among the elected members, there could be different ways of being involved according to their seniority, according to their capacity, according to their ability to provide value, right? So that is something that we will see and hopefully clarify before the elections, because I personally would be hesitant to be a candidate if that position were a full-time job, because I would be not favorable for the SingComDAO to pay me what I would ask for if I were full-time in the role, right? So there has to be a balance.
Do you have any initial thoughts about sort of compensation mechanisms, just broadly speaking, for the Supervisory Council?
So the current compensation was basically a proposal from the foundation that we at the time didn't even very much discuss. We just said fine, right? I personally don't measure my value in dollars per hour because I don't want to put a price on my life. But different people at different stages may think otherwise, and yeah, as a consequence, I don't have input to give about this. It is yeah, Penny, go ahead.
I have more questions and answers on that. I guess in the corporate space, where you hire someone for a full-time job, what is value? What is the value that they deliver to that organization? And how do you place currency around that? Because you may deliver an hour of your time, but your hour and someone's hour, obviously the contribution is different. So I challenged a government organization once. If I can do the work, which I did in 30% of the time, why should I sit there for the rest of the time and just pretend to work? I want to go on another project. So it's about, I believe in contribution of value rather than time. But then that also poses another, controversial question, controversial thought around if you then just value people's output, then is it fair for everyone? So there's people that's still learning, they need to go through learning curve. How do you pay for their time in that sense? Again, there's more questions and answers around this. I'd love to, get a forum just on this discussion. How do we measure people's time and value in a respective way? So they've still got to eat, they've still got to, pay for their rent or mortgage.
And personally, I love to pay people to learn. I think that is going to be an extremely dignified way to provide what today we may call a universal basic income, right? And the more people will learn about their future role, and Google used to do that, right? They would say, hey, 20% of your time, just apply your creativity, learn new skills. That is how they came up with Gmail. I don't think the program is in place at Google anymore, but if not 20%, maybe it can be 80% of the time that people learn, and then through the lever of AI assistants, they are able to better formulate what they want, right? It's about understanding the types of questions that you are asking and the types of specifications of the problem space that you are trying to understand.
Yeah, I experimented in the workplace some time ago when I used to manage development teams. Hey, if you can do the work in half the time, I'm not going to tell anyone, take the rest of the time off, get the feature and function to me, spend time with your family. And I just like manage that in my own realm. I don't know what the answer is. Just put it out there to a vote. Another project has sort of almost solved that problem, where you put the piece of work out there, the community votes. There has to be 5 people voting, or 5 members voting, and each person has a star rating, kind of like Uber. So the more you contribute, the more rating, reputation, I guess, management in that sense, feedback, and that kind of keeps going around in circles, where once you've delivered the piece of work, again, there's a voting mechanism on, did you deliver what you set out to deliver, and that gets rated. And then you get remunerated off the back of that. That was just one concept that I thought, that's interesting, that could work. Yeah.
I definitely see the value in creating a system for accountability, but at the same time, I will be hesitant to consistently require people to produce work before they even find out whether they're going to be paid or not, because that could turn into quite a dystopian freelancing end point, which for people who don't have a steady job, it can be somewhat uncertain and uncomfortable.
Yeah. Or we can experiment. Maybe one quarter we try one way, another quarter we try another way, and another quarter we try another way, and then we compare the 3 and see which one works for us. So like an A/B type scenario. Yeah.
It could also be possible to produce different ways of doing it, so that people can choose which model they would like to be part of. Make trade-offs between models. That's also possible. Could you tell me a little bit about how the budget for the Supervisory Council was allocated during your term?
With great difficulty.
Sorry to put you on the spot with that question.
David, did you want to catch that one?
Did I? There were proposals from our side way back that were actually rejected by the foundation, and we said, okay. One of these proposals was to reach out and actually cross-pollinate ideas with other projects right outside of the ecosystem. And Esther, your work on the progressive decentralization would have been greatly facilitated were that proposal be positively accepted. Other things I already mentioned, like the ambassador program, right? But there is a lot available. And I think that it will be very simple to hand over that amount of tokens to the Syncom DAO, to the seed DAO, as a 0 birthday gift, right? So contrary to traditional corporations, where it is a very paradoxical and painful experience that if you don't spend a given budget, then next year you will be given a smaller budget, and so everyone wastes money, especially towards the end of their fiscal year. The reliable allocation of tokens defined in the foundation made it possible for the council to be conservative and to say, we just don't spend it if we don't have important things to spend them on. I saw Rafael and Tevo who asked their hands, and I know Fly, you have your hand up as well, but they haven't spoken before. So Esther, if you agree, I would like them to go first. And I also want to be respectful of everyone's time. I think we are close to the hour. So, Raphael, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, thank you, David. Hey, Penny. Hey, David. Well, my question goes in the direction of compensation. What are your take on the type of compensation, AGIX or fiat, especially when we consider what Penny mentioned about the deliveries instead of time, and in a sense that the council is super important for even the pricing of the AGIX. So what would be your take? Should we go for compensation on the token or on fiat?
So my take is that if you pay in token, then the decision to cash out is of the recipient. If you pay in fiat, then the decision is taken upfront by the person or the organization paying, right? And I am in favor of giving a freedom rather than taking it away. So in that sense, paying in token is the right thing, and then the person receiving it will decide, hey, I believe it will go up and I keep it, or I need to pay food and I will sell it.
I'd say a hybrid approach, maybe 3 options. Yeah.
Okay.
Like part fiat, part token. And I guess everyone's risk tolerance is a bit different, and the financial circumstances are quite different as well. Maybe we could be a little bit flexible and have a couple of options. Yeah.
Okay. So if someone says, I don't want a freedom of deciding, I want others to decide for me, well, then they are fine, of course. Tivo?
Even if
oh,
the
sorry, Raphael.
Yeah, just to clarify, even if the amount of AGIX is the same, I mean, for AGIX payment. For instance, 1,000 AGIX, you know, so if the council does a good job,
obviously, if we are talking about a salary for a full-time job, that is such that the person may need to discuss, hey, my rent is not fluctuating month after month, right? So yeah, I understand that in that case the situation is different. Yeah. Tivo?
I think most of the stuff I was already put into the chat. One side note, I will say that why does it take so long? I think every month we have an issue in Ambassador that when we require rewards to distribute out, it takes at least 1 to 2 weeks to get that allocation from somewhere. Like I know that Peter isn't doing the transaction themselves, he has to request it. I assume it's coming from council, and then I'm just wondering what's like holdups there. But yeah, rest of the stuff, I think it's going to
your assumption is wrong. We do not control the private case to the distributions, so you have to keep fishing for someone to blame.
Right, but yeah, I would add
you know what? That's a good point. That could be one point. Let's review it. Let's review the process end to end and see where it gets stuck, and see what we can do with it.
Well, it's if I may, it's not so much getting stuck, and you are right. This delay does get introduced at points where it doesn't need to be. I think it wouldn't make the most sense to simply for the allocated funds to ask to have control over them and not to repeatedly have to go through the same motions. That's with a simple solution
there. Felix is asking what would be the best way to contact you, David and Penny. I give you freedom to pick what works best for you. I am very easy to find, and all my contacts are public. My email, my WhatsApp, Telegram, anything you'd like, and I'm on everywhere. So Felix, really, but you know, really just Google it, and it's very, very easy.
I'm in the death by social media on pretty much all of them, but not at the same time. Professionally, LinkedIn is great. Otherwise, Telegram, I've just stopped because it's chaos in every single channel. So I just can't do Telegram anymore. LinkedIn is great as a starting point. And then I guess, moving on to, if you're on Discord, I'm happy to jump in. Just let me know and I can jump in whenever.
I think, Esther, we can have Fly and Jan and then end the call, maybe.
Yes, that's if you're able to carry on for another few minutes to take the last question.
That's right. But let's do a final few. Fly, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, thanks. I guess right now I see a big information silo between the different parts of ecosystem here, deep funding, supervisory council and ambassadors. And I really like this idea of the forum, which I think could go to kind of solve this. And there's been mention of this bi-weekly AMA. I'd just like to jump on top because I think it's so relevant. As Thibaut mentioned in the chat, many of the questions as ambassadors and as a program we're going through, it seems like there's correlations between supervisory council and deep funding. So I think one reflection I have about this process, about going into the new supervisory council, is that it kind of lacks an original feedback loop from the supervisory council. It's on some level asking the community, but it doesn't feel like the community knows enough information yet to make a valid judgment. So I think I'd really like to jump on this idea of a forum and how quickly can we get a bi-weekly forum set up like this going forward. Yeah,
I think that is great. And someone, Tivo, I think, wrote that he believes monthly is better. So, we can start, and then if we have nothing to say, we just do them less frequently. But I agree that communicating more is almost always better than not than less. And I'm in great favor of also eliminating silos and barriers. Definitely, Jan.
Thank you. I don't really have questions for you, so relax. It's more like an observation and some closing remarks. First of all, I appreciate your being here in front of the community and being available for any questions that might come up. And I respect that and I appreciate that. I also want to point out that I see this as part of a journey. So I think in my first year at SingularityNET, we didn't have that much interaction, David and Penny. We had a conversation, David, but not on a regular basis. Then when I started deep funding, we also started regular meetings because I thought it was important to have you informed on things that were happening. And I appreciated those moments of sharing thoughts and ideas. And I think over the past month or so, when we are ideating on what a new way Supervisory Council 2.0 would be, I also took the opportunity of putting that into practice. So actually going to you guys to ask your advice on very concrete questions. And one thing that pops up in my head is the reward issue for reputation, where we took the decision to filter out proposers. And there was some conversation on the socials about people who thought that might not have been the best decisions. So we consulted you. And there's another topic that we've asked your consultants. And I must say that kind of working, that really works, that process. So I'm looking forward for a new supervisory council, and whether you will be in it or not, or it will be others, but to have a working relationship where instead of going to the community with each small thing, that I can, with the smaller or medium things, I can go to the Supervisory Council, and then the Supervisory Council can decide whether it's appropriate to make a decision like that, or if it's such an important topic that we have to put it forward to the whole community. So I see this as a trajectory and a process, and I think we're growing and we're learning here. And also this specific meeting is an example of that, where the Supervisory Council is more visible. And yeah, as everybody was pointing out here in the meeting and on the channel, I think there's some appetite to do that on a more regular basis in some way. So talking about contacts, it's great that people can contact you personally, but probably we'll need to have some kind of button somewhere, contact the Supervisory Council. I don't know how it will work, but something like that. And I suppose in the new structure, we will have to find ways for the new Supervisory Council to be more structurally in touch with both the outside world and the inside world, and properly fulfill the role of mediator. And yeah, so the past year, but also the past months and even weeks have given me confidence that we are on the proper track. And today we took the opportunity to look back a little bit. So what went wrong, what went right? For me, what is much more important is looking forward and to see, with the experience that we have up until now, what are the ideas and what is the best way and the best process. And for that purpose, we have our ideation platform, where we would invite all of the community, people who are watching now, people who watch this later, to come and give your ideas. If this triggers you, if you have an idea, if you have a suggestion, you still have until, I think, Thursday, not too much, not too long anymore. So we should get this video out very quickly, to voice your ideas or your concerns, etc. And based on that, we will create a requirement document that will be a guidance for the candidates. And then I hope very soon we can welcome maybe you, David, maybe you, Penny, and any other people who would like to candidate themselves for this role of being in the Supervisory Council of the best and most fantastic organization in the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Great summation, Jan. Thank you. I would very much like to thank David and Penny for sharing their views and for giving us their time today so generously. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, guys. My pleasure.
Thank you, everyone, and thanks for all the questions. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks to everyone for
Thank
your contributions. Great conversation.